That's Daniel
So,
Dankovsky.
Maddie, I gotta tell you a thing, right? So, you mentioned what we were chatting earlier, and you mentioned Kierkegaard,
Yes. Too
and
much.
I asked if you know Kierkegaardashian, and you answered no. So,
Hmm.
which means I am in the delightful position to inform you about Kim Kierkegaardashian, which is a Twitter account that combines the tweets of Kim Kardashian with the writings of Soren Kierkegaard. Uh,
That's
and
so good.
it is it is as hilarious as it sounds. Let me just read you a few samples.
I'm ready.
God grant me peace from my foolish earthly desires, my wild longings, the anxious hungers of my heart. I'm craving froyo so badly.
Kierkegaard would call the aesthetic stage. We're not into the ethical yet. I love that. That's so good. I think that's what he would have wanted.
Lazy day poolside, best French toast ever. No other loss can occur so quietly as the loss of oneself.
Oh, that's so good. I I think that's what he wanted. No, actually, I think that's Kierkegaardian. I think that counts. This is just another pseudonym because he had a bunch. I
I
think it
have
works.
majorly fallen off my workout eating plan, and it's summer. But to despair over sin is to sink deeper into it.
I am at a loss for words, and I speak a lot. That's so good. I,
I think my favorite, I can't find it here, but my favorite is like, at Kanye West, congratulations on passing 4 million followers, baby. Now all you have to fear is death.
no, that's
That
so
was
good.
my
No,
favorite,
yeah.
but I can't find it here right now. Anyway, that account is like very old actually. I don't think it's active anymore, but still a classic, a relic of one of the one of the good old gimmick account relics that I very much enjoy. And it's literally that account is how I found out about Kierkegaard.
I don't know why that. I mean, I think it's what he would have wanted. Maybe. I mean, like, because he used a bunch of pseudonyms. He wasn't just like Kierkegaard. He was like, I'm Tiddlywink Fiddlefeather, and I'm gonna write about. I can't remember his actual names, but he's a actually have a Kierkegaard book right here. But he used a bunch, and because he was into irony, he was like, what if I just wrote books and published them, and then I contradict myself in public because I just want to be a little individual. So I think this is in line with Kierkegaardian thought. Um, I think it's a deep expression of selfhood in the world. I think I'm trying so hard. I,
You're fine. It's okay.
I think there's I think no, there's nothing. I got nothing. I think that's perfect.
Meta, you're out of frame.
Oh no.
All right.
It'll be fine because it doesn't output the 1920 by 1080p once we
I
export
don't
that.
know. Uh,
Pretty sure it does in the three person. Pretty sure it does.
Sorry to inflict this upon you, Maddie, but it's just very funny to me.
This is a blessing. I feel a
Yeah.
joy and happiness.
Also, very much a fan of that thing you said about like I'm gonna write a book and then contradict myself later, like just for fun. Just,
Yeah.
I
I did that.
I've done that with videos. I think some of my early work, like if you go and watch it and then like watch some of my later stuff, I'm pretty sure there's some contradictions in there. Also, as a
Yeah.
total side note, I apologize that I keep like kind of dancing in the background. I'm trying not to, but I have the Pathologic soundtrack.
That's so good.
Some of
I
the
do a little
songs.
wiggle. I'm a constant wiggler.
Yeah,
I like a little
I'm way too neurodivergent. The music I like makes me move.
I have like a constant NPC. I'm like,
No,
oh,
look.
really? Tell me more about your deep trauma.
Okay, this is a total side note, but this is related to video essay stuff. So, because that was just making me think of that thing of like nobody does this, you know, like when they're talking about like a piece of media, and you do the NPC wiggle. So there are people that genuinely do that, but also the thing where people are like nobody
Maddie
talks
has,
like
an
these Mike
idle
Flanagan.
animation. It's great.
Nobody talks like these Mike Flanagan characters. Like it's totally unrealistic. Nobody monologues like that. I'm like, but I do. I talk like that. I think you can both attest. I do talk like a Mike Flanagan monologue sometimes.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen a Mike Flanagan thing. I'll have to see to find out. But
Maddie, you can attest.
You
when
do,
I
you're
do,
very poetic naturally. You're like, and now I'm gonna blow your mind. I just have this in my brain.
no, but,
No, but it's
okay.
I don't think it's. I'm not special. I want to be clear. I just think it's that people don't hang out enough with writers, and it's that thing of like they're like nobody speaks like this. I'm like, I know a lot of people that speak this way. Oh, they're all autistic and video essayists.
See, Aronok, I relate to that because, as you have pointed out earlier, and as many people have told me, I talk like a cartoon character. So,
What?
Oh, it's me, Darkrai.
Like and subscribe.
and like it's not like a thing. It's not like an act that I put
No,
with
you-
videos.
you-
Like I
That's
talk like
just you.
that.
You
I
just
I
like,
just legit talk like that.
and I want to be
and
clear. When I said that, it was a huge compliment. It was not.
No, I took it as a compliment, but
So the audience doesn't misunderstand. I know you knew it
here's
was a
the
compliment.
thing, right? Here's the thing, right? Like I was at like a gathering of friends. Like it was like a friend's birthday party, I think, and we were just talking, and then someone new that I'd never met came along, and then like so. Like they brought desserts or whatever. They brought cupcakes, and I was like, oh yeah, give me the cupcakes. Give me the cupcake. I want the cupcakes. And the new person was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then all of my other friends started laughing, and one of them said, he's not used to it. So it's just a thing. It's just a thing that you
Well,
get used to.
You get a certain level of desensitized to like video essay off the cuff monologuing or
yeah.
Darkrai being a cartoon character in real.
Oh yeah, give me those
Yeah.
cupcakes.
It becomes no.
Yeah, like I legit did that.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
brother. Give me
I will
cupcakes.
also say that I got drunk. Like I got blackout, no memories drunk exactly one time in my life. Exactly one time in my life I got so drunk that I just don't remember anything that happened. And according to my friends, I was the exact same.
I don't know what that's a comment on.
That's according to my friends.
As a total side note, if small children are happening to listen to this, which, dear God, why are you listening to us talk? I am not appropriate for kids. But if you are, don't get blackout drunk. Trust me, you're literally just poisoning yourself near to death. That's what blackout drunk means.
Yeah, don't.
I've done it once. Don't recommend it. Did some things I regret. Well, I don't remember doing them, but I trust that the people who told me I did them, that I did them.
Yeah, I don't. Like, literally, according to my friends, and a lot of them too, not just like one or two, I was literally the exact same, which I find quite amazing. I am
either
drunk by default, apparently.
Oh, no, it just means that either you're really good at being blackout drunk, or you're naturally whimsical in every environment. You're like a
I am
whimsical
naturally
lizard.
whimsical in every environment, and I think that is the best way to describe me, and I take great pride in it. Anyway, hello! And welcome to Video Gems, the podcast where we verb nouns in an adjective way. I am your host, Darkfry, the number 2 leading cause of death, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Aronach, and just Aronach this time. Unfortunately, Harry is, his people needed him, so we're doing this Harryless, any percent.
We razored, we shaved, we waxed.
Alright, so, what are we doing this week? Alright, so who is our guest this week?
And
Introduce yourself.
me? Oh gosh. Hi, I'm Maddie Merlin.
Yeah, that's you.
I almost forgot. I'm like, who am I? I make video essays, many apologies, about film and philosophy, and I think the original onus of my
Who
channel
are
was
you?
Oh, me?
Maddie Merlin.
Maddie Merlin. I'm
Yeah.
That's who she is.
I'm,
Darkfry. She already said that.
I like chocolate chip cookies without chocolate chips. What other who am I? This is a very existential question. I feel like you're Mufasa. What else? Oh no! What else do you need?
As a total side note, Darkfry, when you said we verb adjectives as the noun or whatever it was, or verb nouns, I can't remember the words you said. Anyway, it just made me think of this bit from the Usher video that I'm working on, because I'm talking a lot about Edgar Allan Poe, and as much as I absolutely adore Edgar Allan Poe's like ridiculous amount of usage of adjectives, he does use adjectives in weird ways sometimes. And this is thanks to LK. I can't take full credit. Lady Night the Brave mostly on this line as well. But at some point I'm going to say, that isn't to say that every sentence from Poe is a winner, and I'm going to put in a really weird line, and then I'm going to edit in Bo Burnham saying, "You with your clockwise vagina, and me with my strange use of adjectives."
I love that joke. It's so good.
Why is it so good? It shouldn't be so good.
It's such a good bit. I love that
My
bit.
favorite poet. My favorite poet is Edgar Allan Poe. My favorite
too.
my favorite novelist is Edgar Allan Nov.
Like Poe, Ed, not, Dark Fry Genius.
That's like an advanced level joke.
I'm dumb, and it took me a second because I was just like, "Is that a real person?" Because I take things too literally as an autistic person, and literally thought, like, "Is there a person named Edgar Allanov?"
Oh, Alanov, like it's
That
like
is a cool name.
And I'm curious, does
I thought it was
Edgar
just
Allan
one name. Like, it sounds like a Russian last name, right?
Allen? No, there's no one called Edgar Allanov. That's too bad.
No, there's not. It literally showed me Edgar Allan Poe. And it's just...
Until now.
Coming June
change my name to Edgar
2025.
Allan.
I think you should.
Coming to a theater near you.
Edgar Allanov.
Edgar Allan.
I love doing different voices. The funniest shit was I was doing karaoke with friends on Friday for a friend's birthday, and because I have such a high like range with my voice, I can do a lot of different things, and I'm also a good impressionist, and I can do impressions while I'm singing. So I did like I think the two most fun was probably Eddie Vedder, like Pearl Jam. I can like perfectly do the like weird thing that he does. I did Even Flow. It was so fun. Even flow.
That's so good.
Nice.
Down the line like butterflies. Like he just says.
I like to think I can do a Michael McDonald,
That was a
but I'm
really
not
funny
sure
line
if
in
I
there.
can.
And then I also did Arctic Monkeys because that's just really fun to do like a fast and British accent, but also singing at the same time. And the DJ guy fucking loved me. Every time I came up, he was like hype. I was like, yay! This person has had to listen to a lot of people sing karaoke, and he's excited about me specifically.
Oh yeah.
I've done good.
I'm the karaoke monster in parties too, cause
I remember the funny bit. It's right at the start of the song. He has these bits where he does these like weirdly fast lines. Freeze and rest his head on a pillow made of concrete. Yeah.
yeah.
The way he just, yeah. At the end of sentences, Oh yeah.
It's like
I don't know.
Barry
He's
Gibb.
a really funny singer. It's like, and the funny thing about Eddie Vedder is like he sings weird, but that's because he's actually a phenomenal vocalist. Like,
Yes.
a lot of people make fun of him and don't get that he's actually incredibly skilled, and the reason why he's doing that stuff is just because he's at that level of mastery where he can fuck around more, you know, than I think most people would try to do. But when you hear him there's times where he's been recorded singing stuff where he's singing it more traditional, and he's just like nailing every note perfectly, and you're like, holy fuck, he's an amazing singer. And that's one of those things where that isn't a goofy voice. That is, I am purposefully choosing to do this for an artistic choice. And I love stuff like that.
My first memory of Eddie Vedder is writing him into, like, my first novel when I was 8 years old. I had the characters listen to Just Breathe. They were like, I'm so sad. Put the CD in, and they were mermaids, and I think one of them broke their legs, and then they were, like, got into the ocean and, like, got a cool tail, so... And Eddie Vedder was like, you know...
Wait a minute, that was a lot of information.
My brain is trying to process. You made a mermaid, like, fanficky book when you were a kid.
Yes.
Where they edgily listened to Pearl Jam while depressed. I love you, man. We're the same person.
That was a lot of information that you...
We connect on such a specific, deep level. I think part of it's also just, like, we're of a similar generation and both Canadian.
Yes! Oh, Darkfur, do you feel, like, intimidated by our Canadianness?
Weird. So those three combined.
It's too powerful.
I don't know what... I'm
Should
not
we start
sure
doing,
what
like, a really thick Canadian accent?
Oh, sorry about that. I think
Not
it's Irish.
funniest things?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, that's good,
Well-
eh?
Well, I was going down to the store for a 2 for
I don't know, is Canadianness listening
Promise
to
that-
Pearl Jam a lot?
It's definitely a band here that I think is more popular than it was in the US. But I would say, like, the quintessential is obviously Tragically Hip. Like,
Yes, 100%.
that's the
That's
quintessential
the band.
sort of band. Yeah, but there's a lot of ones. I mean,
like Australians have Down Under. Is there like a Canada
Down
song?
Under isn't really an Australian song. Like, I feel like it's popular everywhere else, but I don't know a lot of Australians that are like, Down Under by the Men at Work, that's my song.
What? It's the Australian anthem, right?
Yeah, I think
would
so.
say,
They
I would
stand.
say if I had to pick, if I had to pick an anthem for winter on the prairies, it's oh fuck, my brain's blanking on the name. 1 second, sorry, memory issues. I
You
love
have to-
having
you
brain
just get in the
problems.
vaults of Canadian
I have
things.
to go through the playlists. It's a really good song. It's by a pretty local artist. It's about a guy that, like, okay, it's a really dark, messed up ballad about, like, a murder.
That's very Canadian.
Oh fuck it. You understand me. People, the Canadians are so nice and they're like, yeah, we all deal with existential dread for 6 months of the year. You kind of have to get nice. The world isn't doing it for you.
I hate shoveling
All right,
so
so
much.
Canada, Canada. Things I know about Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get syrup from trees.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought it's some sort of sugar land.
Mm-hmm. The snow is actually sugar.
Like,
You don't actually have snow.
I told you this before, Maddie, right? I told you
I
this
think
before,
so.
Maddie. Like, like how Canada is like everything is like sweet and sugary.
I think so. I think
You
you're
get
right.
freaking syrup from trees there. It's like,
We do.
How do
That's
you
like
do
a. Okay, so you get a little spindly thing, and then you put it into the tree, and you go, and then like the syrup comes out, and then and you have a bucket.
Wendell Walker by Andy Schauf. If you want to understand Canadian winter, listen to Wendell Walker by Andy Schauf.
all right.
It is a melancholy, depressive song that I really love and does perfectly capture. Sorry, I'm in a specific mood because winter just hit and my seasonal affective disorder is fun. Also, whichever bastard named seasonal affective disorder the acronym SAD Fuck you! I hate
Sad?
being diagnosed with sad.
Look,
Amongst many other
what's
things,
I'm
one of
sad.
my mental illnesses is sad. One of my mental illnesses is literally SAD, sad.
Well, doctor. What can you tell me? Well, it's not looking good.
You're sad.
I'm afraid you have sad.
Winter's coming.
Winter's
My
coming.
sad's gonna be bad.
That was the real problem in Game of Thrones. They were all gonna get sad for a long time. I
They
always
also
wanted.
had really bad seasonal effect disorder. There's no White Walkers. It's just depression. The real enemy is depression.
Depression.
Cold.
It was a metaphor for depression all along.
it's like
Oh my God, that does sound like something that somebody with like Matt Pat energy of analysis would say. Like,
Well, themes are for 8th grade book reports. We know this.
the White Walkers are clearly just a metaphor for depression and all sorts of. They're just in their brains, you know. Just
oh God,
they're bummed out.
I hate the like, it's all in their heads all along, twist ending shit. Like, as someone with pretty severe mental illness, stop.
How about you don't?
How about you don't until you can broach this topic with the mildest amount of sensitivity and correctness?
And like
Maybe.
you know, like in the original book in Wizard of
Step one. It's like step one. If you do that, it's like you're fucking falling over the first step.
And like I think in the original Wizard of Oz, like Dorothy doesn't wake up and go, "Oh, it was not real." Like it was all magical and
So in old school isekai, which Dorothy, yes, fuck you, Darkrai. Like Alice in Wonderland as well kind of follows this rule. The Alice in Wonderland has a lot of Satanism in other ways. I hate that I'm drawn to certain forms of Satanist art, and I know it's bad, but I've been obsessed with the American Psycho musical.
I did not know this thing. That's so cool.
I saw it through legal means recently. And it's Benjamin Walker is very good as this version of Patrick Bateman, who is still an awful person, but he has the same energy of awful as like Daniel Dankovsky, my beloved son, who I wish to put in a trash can and punt down the stairs. And
Classic.
it's all gonna come back to pathologic constantly. I'm pathologic brainwormed at the moment. That's all I can think about. But what was I saying? So, like, it is not good about the topic, but it compels me though.
It's bad. Compels me though.
Compels me though. I fucking love that bit of performance so much. There's just something about the way that he delivers that line that gives me life. Like,
It's so good.
You're talking about compels me though.
makes no sense, but compels me
Compels me
though.
though.
It's just
A
that's
donut hole inside of a donut hole.
Daniel Craig as friggin' I forgot his name.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, Benoit Blanc. Funny. Just one of the most
Benoit
legendary
Blanc.
roles of all time.
It's like
Very
really
good.
French shit.
Yeah. Benoit Blanche. All right. Maddie,
Yes.
don't think you've escaped my grasp.
Oh,
Just because
no.
we got sidetracked into other conversations. All right, so I was gonna make a joke with Harry here. I was gonna make a joke because we had the pleasure of having David Jumpman Bradley on the podcast before, and I've said
Oh, yay.
and I've said that episode was 3 asexuals and an aromantic. This was going to be 3 asexuals and an aromantic episode 2, but the aromantic is missing, so it's just 3 asexuals.
Does that mean that we're like super powered asexual? Like we're gonna form one giant robot
Just
See,
gonna
yeah,
combine them
like
to the Exodia of asexuals.
yeah, we're just gonna merge.
Yeah, you
This is sort
know,
of a horrific body
just
horror
gonna
monster
merge.
creature.
just a little Voltron moment,
Just for a little fun.
instrumentality thing.
Yeah,
know.
human instrumentality
Yeah.
moment.
I think
so.
so.
Love that for us.
This is actually what we think sex
You're
is.
busy trying to have sex. We're busy creating Exodia out of
Yeah.
Exodia.
Yeah. It's like what?
Beat that, Alos!
You cannot defeat us now.
But who's powerful for you?
We are here. Look, we have been put
Our
on this
combined
earth.
powers are too strong
confuse
for you,
people.
traveler. I need your strongest body horror. My body horror is too strong. I don't know why. The fucking potions are like I'm so sorry to everyone listening. This episode is just pure chaos.
I think I unleash
My
chaos.
vibes are too strong for this
No, I
episode,
do
traveler.
too. No, I do too. I mean, like, there's a reason why, like, Lady Night and I being in a, like, one of us on our own, not too chaotic. Us together on a live stream.
Listen,
Pure chaos.
Aronach, I'm just gonna say it right now. Whenever we have Lady Night on this podcast, Harry and I will not be here. We're just gonna put you two on a room and record it. All right?
I mean,
For like an hour and a half.
do we talk for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, if not more, most days? Yes, but like, we watch a lot of musicals together. A lot.
It's like,
we
look.
just watched 1984. Again, totally legal ways of watching these things. But we watched 1984 together last night. With like Tom Sturridge, like Sandman.
That sounds so. How have I never heard of this?
Unreasonably good at like it's stage adaptation. It's a stage adaptation. There aren't. Dark Friday cut out the part where I said no. I'm kidding. But it was really brilliant because what they did this thing with the staging where for the first half of the play it has like a set, that's very like buildings in this dystopia type thing, and then at the halfway point when William Wilson, spoilers for a book that's super famous, most of you had to mandatorily read in high school if someone gets mad at me. Anyway, when William Wilson gets arrested, and the entire first half is almost played like it's his like difficulties, like he's like almost recollecting it while being tortured in the second half,
Ooh,
which
that's
is really
such a good
cool. Like
idea.
it's a cool way of staging it. So you have like these like intrusions of sounds and questioning and all this. It's really cool. But anyway, halfway through,
Oh,
they
like Persona 5.
demolish the set, like on stage at like and it is an incredibly intricate thing to do too. And then you're just left with these like 3 blank white walls of Room 101, and it's the coolest shit I've seen in any play ever. It's so good, and like. The actress who played Cora plays the love interest person to William Wilson's character, and there's like the cast is stacked, and it was incredibly good, and apparently it made people puke when they were in the theater, but it was 10 out of 10 theater of cruelty. I loved it. It was great. The rats bit was harrowing.
Yeah, I was like, how did they do the rats bit? I hated.
Oh, they
reading
fully
that in
had a
the book.
cage. They fully had a cage. Like you
God.
can't see inside of the cage, but they stick it on his head, and they do a lot of sound stuff. And he just gets. They do a lot of like cutting out the lights during the torture bits, and then like having him covered in blood after, which is really smart. But it's pretty visceral, and he like coughs up blood at one point and stuff. Like it's intense, but it's good, and the performances are amazing, and yeah.
Darkwing, was that you? Where did that come from?
Are trying a cave 30 miles away.
I was like, and I saw Darkwing. You were saying something. Sorry.
You know what? I'm gonna try to get us back on track because we've been just all over the place.
Maddie, it has been 30
tell us
minutes
about
of
your
this
video
goddamn
essay.
episode, and we have not yet talked about the things you make.
Let's talk about Barbie.
Oh gosh. Okay. What about Barbie? Is like how I came across doing more.
What was that process
Maddie,
like? I guess.
All right, questions. I'm gonna ask you questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What videos do you make?
Okay, so I like to think I make video essays that maybe the structure is a bit weirder because I think I started off very like hyper fixated on the classic video essay, like film video essays, like your classic nerd writer, Lindsay Ellis type of vibe. And so I think you can see like I started off my videos like very typical, like my Batman video was very I have a thesis, Batman is an absurd hero, here are my proof points. But I think as I'm doing more reading, I'm skeptical of the thesis model of I'm trying to persuade someone into believing a thing. And I guess that's where Kierkegaard comes in because he has this idea of like a double reflection. So I think I want my video essays to cultivate inwardness or to draw attention to your subjectivity of your reflections of your reflections. So I want my video essays to maybe bring people tools to understand media in different ways that they like or that settles with them or that either challenges how they're already interpreting something. So I used to say that I would provide alternative readings to cynical media, like saying that Batman, who I don't think on its own is something that you can look at uncritically. I think he's a super bourgeois police guy, but I like to see like him as someone who could be, or like Robin is someone I really connect with, and so finding readings that settle well with me, and that I think you can clear readings of that really really well, and that make me feel good.
That whole thing about Kierkegaard that we started the episode with, that was actually just clever foreshadowing for this part. I'm actually a genius.
Yes.
To quote a line from my Usher video, I enjoy Batman media, and it's the textbook poster child for horrific mishandlings of mental illness.
Yeah, oh gosh.
And that's the thing about, because I think this next video is very much about subjectivities of audiences, and like, because I'm talking a lot about mental illness, and I've worked with a lot of other people who have similar or different diagnoses, and I won't say which because that will stay close to my chest what I have. The way that I am insane will stay close to me. But Maddie knows. But no, actually, she does actually know. She's one of the like 10 people who do. But
does she know?
What do we know?
Sorry, there's this thing for a while where there's these terrible thumbnails with "Does he know?"
Terrible.
And they were the funniest thing ever. And one of them is this screenshot of the Riddler looking like he just shit his pants, like Riddler from the most recent Batman movie with "Does he know?" And he's like,
I'm sending my version of it.
It's so funny.
Wait.
Does he know?
Does he
know though?
Does he know? I love Rob Bat in that movie too. He's my scrunkly little rat man, and I want to.
I'm glad that we both like scrunkly little like rat men. Like, yes. I don't know, so, because I'm a lesbian and I'm also ace, so it's not an attraction thing. It's more just like I want to rotate them around in a vial. I want to examine them under a microscope. I like my like.
There was a comment under my most recent video that was like, I guess your brand is just examining like weird little guys, and I'm like, I guess it's just weird little guys like Tom Cruise, Batman, I guess Anakin Skywalker.
Call Tom Cruise a weird little guy.
No, he's not a weird little guy. He's well, I'll leave it up to my yeah. That video is really complicated. That's the most into the subjective weeds I get, I think. But yeah, and like I don't know where I was going with this. Continue. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's not.
You're the guest here.
This is about you, not about us. It's about you. But like, I think part of the reason why you and I really connected as artists is that I think we're both constantly approaching things from trying to get people to be aware of their own subjectivity.
exactly.
as people who are engaging with art, and then trying to get them to be aware of subjectivities they don't personally experience and like consider them. And it's interesting because I think we've had a lot of conversations where we've helped each other notice things when we discuss scripts and stuff. Like you've jokingly called me your mentors, but yeah, like I think we really connect on that level of like trying to push what structure can be in art, and it's something that I really value because I think I think there's so much to play with. Like one of the things that I love about video essays as a medium is I think it's one of the widest mediums there are. There's so much space to push at the boundaries of what it can be.
White.
Wide. But
And
yes,
very white.
There's a whiteness problem as well. People should go watch a bunch of other people. For example, just to name like a short list of people that I personally have worked with and I think are fucking awesome. FD Signifier obviously like is a big thing, but there's a lot of smaller names like Hero the Kid and Babilla and Colormind, and I'm gonna forget friends and feel bad about it in 10 minutes. And like Khadijah and Third World Miss Explores and Turb, who I personally edit for and have like co-writing credits on several videos for,
Turb.
Including the upcoming Spider-Verse video we made together, which I'm very excited about.
So excited!
I'm really proud of both of our writing on that video. So yeah, if you wanted a Spider-Verse video from me, you're kind of getting it, but you're also getting it from Turb, which is also fucking awesome. And Turb's editing has been fun. Shaving my head to look like Gwen for the Gwen section wasn't just because of that. I've wanted to do it for ages before that film released, but was it a partial motivating factor? Yes.
I think that's valid. I would do it. I mean, I had red hair for probably 4 years because of like Mary Jane and Ariel and Black Widow. So that was like, I mean, no other reason.
You need to send me a photo. You need to send me a photo.
I was like orange. People were like, "Are you a clown? What is this?"
I need to see Garfield, man.
Yeah, there's a picture of me. I used to take pictures of after seeing like Marvel. I was very into the MCU, like very much. Like I saw Infinity War like 4 times. I was that, and I was like, my Spider-Man is dead. And so I took a picture of me going like this and like crying. It was like a thing. I'm like, how much can Maddie cry after seeing these movies? I guess that's a point to my artistic journey, too, of like where I came from that. But yes, that was definitely an intense part of my life. I will send you the photo of me with orange hair doing this.
It's funny saying that you I was super into the MCU, like it's this super embarrassing thing. like it's this deep rooted secret.
Yeah.
Like this dark past.
It does feel like a dark past. Oh, it's very fun.
You try to keep like bottled up.
So I have something very serious to tell you. I watch MCU movies.
I used to be big into the MCU.
Used to be big. I think that's interesting that it did.
I used to be a Matt Pat fan. It's fine.
I'm so sorry. I forgive you. You're forgiven. It's okay.
It's okay. I was also a 14-year-old that was being told I was a guy even though I wasn't.
Literally, the first video I uploaded on YouTube is a game theory parody of Matt Pat's Undertale video, where I say that W.D. Gaster is actually Dr. Endonuts from Earthbound. And it got 250,000 views.
Whoa!
Nothing I ever make will get that many views. And it haunts me every night.
I'm so sorry for
I guess that's the curse of...
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Maddie.
Oh, no, so that's the curse of YouTube, is that views don't connote quality, but it connotes the amount of attention you can grab, and attention doesn't always equal the right type of...
That was my first video. I made that when I was 15.
You were a prodigy.
I made that when I was 15 as part of a high school project.
I can't wait to finish my Undertale video, which will happen after the Usher video. The Usher video kind of disrupted it, and Nimona also kind of disrupted it because I realized it was going to be too big and I needed to do a shorter video. Because the Undertale script currently is 7,000 more words than Queer Relativity, and Queer Relativity was 18,000, and that was 2 hours long. And it's going to be even slower, like, relative to word count, because and to be clear, Ruby's been really heavily involved in writing it, so it's not really ripping off because she's part of creating it, but it's very much like Pathologic for those who never play it in certain ways. Like, it is a performance of Undertale, is the best way I can describe what the video is.
You
but
have
it's
to
also
get
like,
me on for voices if that's the case.
I will. Like, you're on my list. Do not worry. You will be doing a character. Both of you will be doing characters. Most people, this is a thing I'm asking them to do. You two, it's not a choice. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's mandatory. Mandatory voice acting. But like, I've cast some of it as well already. Like, Kevin from Pixelit is going to be Sans.
That's so good.
Hell yeah.
he nailed
yeah.
it.
Hey,
when I asked
buddy.
him to just do like a couple lines just to see if he could pull off like just to see what he would do with it, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted him in the video no matter what. But I was just like, I have a specific idea for Sans. Can you try this?
Hey,
he
buddy.
did it, and I was like, he sounds like what you would imagine the voice would sound like if you listen to the sound the like sound that Sans makes
Yeah.
in the game. It's
Yeah.
like that, but a
Kevin-
voice. And
And that's such a perfect voice for that. I can imagine it.
right? It's
Yeah.
so good. So, and I also needed him to be able to do the like fast switch to like, you would be dead where you stand type shit. Like, I needed him to be able to do both of them, and he nailed it perfectly. So I'm super excited about that. But anyway, I'm really excited for the Undertale video because I have watched over 100 video essays about Undertale since I finished the majority of the work on that video essay script. There's still a lot of sections that I need to get into the weeds with, but I wanted to make sure that like what I was writing is valuable, additive, and unique because it's such a covered topic. And what I found is that Undertale analysis is shallow, simplistic, and lacking, except for a couple of exceptions, mostly our friends actually.
Man, our friends are just so fucking awesome.
They are. My favorite video on the topic was. I need to look up the exact what it is. I'm gonna go find the exact
Listen,
wording in
I
the
didn't
title.
make an Undertale video, but if I did, it would
Okay.
fucking rule.
Adam Millard, who has been on the show.
Yes.
Adam Millard's "What Was Undertale Actually About" is probably the best analysis of the work itself that I've seen on YouTube. Second to that is Transparency's video. I know Alicia and Kiki don't super love that video, like they've said that to us, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's better than they're saying it is.
Man.
I think they should up themselves more. And What
They
the Internet
should.
Did to
I'm
Undertale
gonna
by
drop
Super
kick them.
Eyepatch Wolf. Those are the three that I would actually recommend people watch. There's one other one that I'm on the verge of recommending, but there's some weird shit in there that makes me kind of towards it. So, like, just a couple of phrases where I'm like, it's like I can't tell if you have terrible political views, but you might. That's
Oh.
yeah. And then, but other than that, pretty much every other analysis of Undertale is overly obsessed with lore while missing all of the messages in the work about why lore doesn't really matter. And like,
You mean W.D. Gaster, the character that literally satirizes that, and then everything became about, then
I have an
it
entire
became the
section
thing
written
to
about that.
satirize?
I have an entire section, but it drives me up the wall, and I think, and I had a purpose for all this. Coming back to like what you were talking about with like subjectivities, Maddie, and like the purpose of engaging with art and things. It's like I think this video is sort of a rejection of these very shallow engagements with the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think so many people have just I don't even fundamental incuriosity while claiming to be incredibly curious. It's like a weird where they don't want to engage with the emotionality of the game. There are other game videos that I think are good but are too myopic. And what I mean by that's not an insult. I just mean that they're like so hyper fixated on like one tiny thing that it doesn't really become an analysis of the work it's as a whole, but rather
Not a
like
bad thing though. Like you can
that's
make a
not an
short
inherent
video
bad thing. It's just not what I'm
focusing
trying to
on
do.
one
Yeah,
on
H
one
bombs
specific
H bomber
thing.
guy's video is the best example of that. Like it's good. It is a good video, but it's so like overly focused on this like reading about fandom and being a creator, which is very interesting because it's very much coming from a specific subjectivity, a specific perspective, and I get it because I had that perspective, I have that subjectivity, I understand that lens, but I'm like saying that that's the entirety of what the game is about is so condensed.
That's why I think it's important to acknowledge that that's something that you see in academia that you don't really see on YouTube, is that I'm applying this reading to this piece of work, whereas sometimes you say this is the only reading of this work you can have, which like you very clearly say I'm doing a queer reading of this, not like this is the only thing that can ever exist.
And when you explain that that's what you're doing, people throw I've had so many people throw tantrums about me doing queer readings of works, and I'm like, I'm not saying this is the only reading. The one where I understand why people make the misunderstanding of what I'm saying is The Matrix, because my point with The Matrix isn't this is the only reading that can work or exist. My point was any reading of The Matrix which doesn't engage with the queerness will be slightly incoherent.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like trying to talk about I'm trying to think of a good example.
Yeah.
Like
It's like trying to talk about 1984, but not politically. You're like, this is a fantasy.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's like trying to talk about 1984 without relating it at all to British politics or anything. It's like you can do that, but you're gonna kind of miss out on the context that Orwell was writing this in and all of the suffused meaning of the specific politics which informed it. Like to have no analysis of World War II's effect on the world when you discuss works that are set during World War II is like
you're missing the juice.
I think you kind of have to mention that. You can't just like not mention the central aspect. And I think the problem is that because The Matrix, until Matrix Resurrections, which does say it, because The Matrix never says the words, "Hello, this is a queer film about queerness."
Hello.
People, it's like trying to talk about it's like trying to talk about The Matrix and not talking about capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna have a slightly incoherent reading of it. You know?
Mm-hmm. You know?
It's not you can't have a reading, or that there's no valid readings outside of that. It's just that they're lesser because they're missing a huge chunk of the work.
You know, this is something that I think about a lot in our, I guess you could say, line of work. I don't know, or
this
whatever.
Isn't a real job.
But it fascinates me how many people will, be really into something, like passionately like something like Undertale, especially something like Undertale, especially because it got so big and has such a passionate fan base, but not really engage with or understand why they like it, or sometimes misunderstand it. I find that really fascinating. I think Aronok wants to say something.
Evelyn Ayer's video, "What is Good Taste?" I think that's the current title, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's changed the title at least once, so I can remember what the current one is. But I Am Ayer on YouTube, friend of everybody here, great video essayist. Anyway, she has a video about like what is good taste, and what she's saying in the video, because I know some people like myself when they hear that they're like, what? But what she's saying is that
What?
Is that good taste is an understanding of why you like things, and then being able to explain and like express that. You know, it's and being able to understand the like technical aptitude of works. You know, like those two things combined. That's kind of I feel like I'm not explaining it well, but the point is that like if you don't understand why you like something, I think there's a bit of incuriosity there. There's a little bit of like missing.
It's wild to me because I can like, I cannot understand that mindset. Ever since I was a heckin' baby, when I liked something, I was like, okay, why? Why do I like this? I've been doing, like, I cannot understand not having this mindset, right? I kind of can, but
Hmm.
because I've come to find out that it's apparently sort of the default. Like, it's sort of like
Yeah.
people are just not, they'll just see something, they'll like it, and they'll say cool and move on to the next to the next thing they're like, and I'm
I
like, what?
And
how
What
do
do
you
you
not?
mean?
I think that's something that I'm really fascinated by, or at least, especially in my Tom Cruise video, was definitely about the cognitive dissonance people have about Tom Cruise. Because I got in the beginning of the video, I list like the main reasons. I say I like Tom Cruise because he does stunts, he's a last true movie star, and that kind of ends there. So, and a lot of my videos are not even looking at the content exactly, but people's feelings about the content. So you could call it maybe like a cultural analysis, but also exploring the cultural forces that shape those. I like this, here are my reasons. So
Yeah.
it's the double reflection type of idea again, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's very much the same thing that I do, which is that like I'm constantly digging into my own feelings primarily, but also the feelings that everyone else are having towards a work of art as well. Like I think Tron Legacy, that video, like the queer reading of that video, came out of just being like, I know if like I don't know a ton of people that love this film, but anyone that does know this film and loves it is disproportionately non-binary people. Why? And then I tried to like I'm like okay well let's dig into it and I actually have a tattoo with this symbol for women from the ISO symbol for women, yay. um uh but it's also like the code ring from the Matrix because very complicated symbolic reasons around the idea of like being labeled as something as sort of a limitation and then sort of like corrupting the code of that
I love that. Hmm.
non-binary woman as a visual symbol. Anyway, um, and I'm also a computer scientist, so code is kind of just always. But anyway, like I think just kind of examining why we feel things about things and is such a valuable exercise that so many people do because I think a lot of people are scared to engage with their feelings.
Hmm.
Um, because they're like scared of what they're gonna find when they do, and scared of what they might learn by doing so. And I think we need to encourage a culture of self-awareness and examination. Like I think a lot of the reason why you see a lot of people doing this bullshit thing of like, oh, men are in crisis, whatever. But and then they use that as an excuse to be sexist pigs. Uh, no, the left doesn't have a problem with not talking about men enough. Please go look at the vast number of leftist men having intelligent conversations about this. You're just not listening to them because most of them are black or trans. Um, I'm not kidding. Like I plan on making a video about this at some point. With all of those creators that I
All of
appreciate.
them.
Who? Yes. No. I want to interview a lot of people for that video.
All of them.
It'll be an unseemly long video probably, and I'll probably what I'll do is I'll just put like all the interviews up as a separate thing on the Patreon, and then
What,
the
you
edited
mean on
down juiciest bits.
patreon.com/Aeronarch?
Oh.
Thank you, Darkfry. I hate shutting myself out, and it makes me uncomfortable, and I wasn't intending to do that, but thank you. Um,
That's why
but
I'm here.
but I think like a lot of men are struggling because they have never been given the tools to examine their own subjectivity from, and doing so terrifies a lot of especially cishet white men. And I think this is less of an issue for a lot of marginalized men. Um, but it terrifies them because if they examine that too much, they might realize that they've done harm. And we live in a society that's so built in Christian fundamental essentialism the idea of good and bad souls never really left. We just kind of replaced it with good and bad brains, which gets into Satanism and ableism, and there's a lot to dig into there. But I think a lot of, and I was just examining it from the gender perspective, but this also works for whiteness, for being not queer, for being able to examine your subjectivity is a transgressive act. It is a act that fundamentally pushes against the ruling structures of our world, and I think that is very scary for people. And the more privileged you are, the harder it is to engage with that type of thing. And I want to be clear, I'm saying that with sympathy for the difficulty. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I don't have to do this. I do that all the time too. If you haven't noticed, I'm pretty pale. So I also have to engage in that examination of subjectivity, and in that examination of how my perspective leads me to not see or experience certain things, and why that can be harmful. And I think part of why there's so much moral panic about art, and why I talk so much about the value of art, and I know you do the same thing, Maddie, is that art that contains marginalized people, especially when it's made and written by us, especially when we're really expressing our subjectivities, is an affront that forces self-examination amongst the privileged. And so even if I don't think conservatives have a logical, thought-out reason, they understand at an intuitive level that marginalized art is a fundamental threat to their worldview and existence and perception of self. And that is why they fight so vehemently against any form of media like that, and why they discourage self-examination. If you look at how people who are white supremacists talk about whiteness and things, it's very much trying to get you to not think about it. And this is why we think about a lot of norms as not existing. I think I said this a little while ago that the most diabolical thing that hegemonic propaganda ever did was convince people that it wasn't propaganda at all, but merely a natural fact of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this all over. And I think your Barbie video, Maddie, engages with this topic in really interesting ways. I'm gonna hand it off to you. I'm trying to keep it bring it back to you.
Definitely, yeah. I'm glad you picked up on all that, because I went all the way back to Aristotle, and so privilege makes itself invisible. It also makes itself necessary, and so that's a really evil, insidious mechanism.
Can you do the yuck?
Oh, yuck! I don't know. Wait. Yeah. Oh wait, I need a yuck. Is that close?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a gif of that yuck.
Then you'll have it, and you should have to. You know how we hide dark fries in videos? You can hide yuck in videos.
By the way, Maddie, in your next video, hide a dark fry. I'm not asking.
I did forget to hide a dark fry. I'm sorry. Next time.
Put a dark fry in there. I will infect every video.
As soon as it's gonna be called Dark Fry Tube, it'll be good.
Yeah.
I like this fun.
You will see dark fry on the side of buses.
I love it.
Soon it will just be Fry Tube.
Fry Tube. Sorry, your question? I forgot.
So I was just talking about fuck, Dark Fry, you messed up the flow. I finally had us at a professional point, and you were like, you need to say yuck now.
I didn't even do it well.
Maddie, you were talking
my
about
God.
Aristotle and how propaganda melds into society and becomes invisible and evil.
Yeah, privileges and invisibility and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Subjectivities and why people examining their own subjectivities, especially privileged people realizing that they are a subjective person. And I have a really good point on this. So part of why I think that game theory and media analysis like it is both insidious and white supremacist is I'm not kidding. I wish I was. I'm not kidding. Is
I know you're
because
not.
the idea of there being an objective one way of viewing a work of art, and that perspective always if you pay attention, always coming from cis-het white men in the Imperial Core, usually in their middle, like 30s to 40s, just saying, if you think that that is the objective view on the world, you have created a hierarchy of subjectivity, which places privilege at the top. And the inability to re-examine these things, and the idea of it is this, like, logical, perfectly thought out, brilliant, like, oh, they're so smart, it's high IQ, because IQ is fucking bullshit. I can rant about IQ at any given time.
Invented what to be white supremacists and a lot of other stuff.
Yes. Well, no, so IQ is a general intelligence metric. General intelligence metrics are always subjective, arbitrary, and flawed. And this is an inherent aspect because intelligence can only ever be defined within a specific context, and is not inherent. That's a fundamental thing. Like, sorry, my specialty is AI and machine learning. I am an probably the best way to describe what I am is I am an expert on choice and thought.
That's so cool.
But from like a computational system design standpoint, which is also why I get really annoyed about systems that are designed in malicious ways, because I know the tricks. I know how they work. I'm in the walls. No.
I'm in the walls.
The walls, just in the walls. That like these general intelligence metrics have to be defined in very silly ways. IQ was invented to test the aggregate scores of regions, particularly schools, large groups, large populations. And what it actually demonstrates has nothing to do with inherency. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Really, what it demonstrates is whether a population has a high degree of stress, lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, and lack of water. I'm not kidding. The primary factors in an IQ test, which is why you need large-scale averages, because it'll range about 20 to 25 points. Basically, IQ is kind of a shit metric, but the guy who invented it basically spent his entire life regretting inventing it because of how it was used. So, one of the most regrettable things about IQ is that it was a wrong-headed attempt to try and do something good that was converted into a white supremacist view of the entire world. Also, Maddie, are you still there?
Oh no.
Maddie. Oh no. Oh, Maddie,
Sorry, I think someone used the microwave. I just heard
okay,
beep,
you're back.
beep. Yay.
But yeah, so I think when we come back to like the Barbie conversation with sort of invented metrics of averages and the idea that you're supposed to look a certain way or be a certain way or exist in a certain manner, I know you're planning on the second video in that series being more critical of those elements in the work. How did you come to the conclusion to split it into two pieces? And why did you want those two like sort of separate statements?
Definitely. So originally I was going to, I think I'm not a great planner when it comes to doing my videos. Like I know a lot of people have a writing structure and outline, but I like to do a discovery because I always give my characters in the video themselves like a character arc alongside like what's happening so that they're being shaped by the information and the information is shaping them. Again, the kind of double reflection idea of cultivating inwardness that is capable of being unfixed and unstable and changing and hopefully destabilizing people's subjectivity within the art. So the first one, So Aronach and I had a conversation about how I was having severe writer's block with a video on masculinity in film noir, and I was like, okay, I'll just do a fun one about Barbie. I'll do the Barbie movies. Those ones like make me happy. And then I saw the Barbie trailer, and I was like, this Ken thing that they're doing, this Ken marketing is fascinating within the context of like Ken within our culture. And so then I just thought, I'll just do like a fun type of, I'll look at all the Barbie movies. And then I was also getting into, since I've done all this research on like masculinity in film and I'm a sociology student, so I do a lot of like sociology of these types of constructs. So I was like, I'll do this. It'll be a cute little video. But as I started doing more research on Barbie generally, I discovered that what I was like, a lot of this taken for granted knowledge about what she is was entirely marketing, and what I found most insidious about Barbie was that she was colonizing dreams and our process of imagination. And I thought that was really interesting because of how she's having sort of a comeback, but it's not something that's new. She's been having comebacks like for the past 40, 60 years, and but it seemed to be like, again, very taken for granted everyday common sense knowledge of what Barbie is. And how Mattel's been able to always control the narrative so effectively was very fascinating to me. And so I went down a big rabbit hole. But I thought the Ken idea of acknowledging what the imagination Barbie is cultivating, so kind of establishing part one. It's kind of like a really long act one of a thing, of setting up all these different ideas and themes that'll eventually come together in part two. And part two, I think, is going to focus more on Barbie. Also speaks to the wider cultural idea of, since the idea of gaze is an important part in that thing, and so why did my attention directly go to analyzing Ken before I even looked to Barbie, and to kind of show my own bias in that process of who I thought I should privilege in my analysis first. So I thought that was interesting.
I love that as an approach, and I do love. I don't love like twists in the way that a lot of people approach it in art, but I do love the rug pull on audiences. I do them in all my videos. Like if you pay attention, there's always a point where I kind of do a rug pull. Little exclusive for the video gems, because the video will probably be out by now. But the rug pull for Fall of the House of Usher is that the primary thing I'm criticizing is the audience.
Ooh.
I'm not really there to criticize how the show represents mental illness, though I'm going to touch on a few points that I think are a little messy. I'm mostly there to discuss, and this is why I was excited when you brought up the whole thing of subjectivities, that sane audiences, and a lot of people are going to be very uncomfortable with me like kind of derisively using the term sane, and I'm going to make a lot of people uncomfortable with this video, very uncomfortable, and I think for a good reason, because most people will read art in incredibly sanist ways even when it isn't, and this creates a problem where and I was discussing this heavily with members of the Garden System, who are a plural system that I'm friends with, who have DID, because not all plural systems have DID, for context, people that don't know. And both of us found that we were both reading the work almost from a defensive standpoint of being like, oh, people are going to read it like this, or people are going to read it like this. And it's like, is that an issue with the art? Or is that an issue with a society that is so heavily built that type of reading into its framework that it's basically impossible to escape it? And is it fair to criticize the work for that? And Usher, I think, is and Ruby from Codex Entry described it perfectly when I was discussing this with her, which is that Usher is a Rorschach test of a show. If you think that Fall of the House of Usher is bigoted, it probably says more about you and less about the work itself. And most people who are going to read it as bigoted are reading it in a way that supports their bigotry, not as like, fuck this show, it's hateful. Because, like, if you notice, marginalized people, by and large, who are represented with characters that are negative, like very much negative, love this show. But I have seen some weird whining from people that aren't. And to say that The Fall of the House of Usher is anti-queer or anti-polyamory fundamentally does not understand the work, does not understand what it is saying, and part of why I think Usher manages to be able to have such heavy, complicated criticisms and complicated characters who are marginalized is that there's so many. It's such a diverse cast. So yeah, when half your cast is queer, you can have some queer people that fucking suck, and they don't become this embodiment of all queer people as a representation. So yeah, you can have a queer character that kills their spouse by accident. You can have a polyamorous relationship too, actually, where the member that is rich and powerful is a manipulative asshole. And I know people who have personally experienced that dynamic within a polyamorous, like, polycule, and so these aren't unrealistic representations of things. But the problem is that often when it is the only thing that people are seeing in a work and the only representation that we see in culture at large, even if the work itself isn't a problem, it still kind of contributes. And Usher, when it comes to mental illness in a way that I don't think it does for those other topics, but it's interrelated, it doesn't do enough to counter sanism, leaving me at a middle point where I don't think the work is inherently sanist, but I do think that a sanist work reading exists fundamentally within it, regardless of the intention. And so it's been a very complicated thing to try to talk about. And so I've kind of taken it as an opportunity to instead discuss sanism and horror at large and why I think exploring mental illness within the horror genre is valuable. And we talked about this a lot when we recorded last week, Dark Fry, with Lee and Pim. I love the way you were like, I have been summoned. Sorry. I love your little pink guy. Oh, sad pink guy. Happy. Is that like for many mentally ill people, we find a lot of value and catharsis in these works, even the works that, yes, are harmful misrepresentations of our experience in certain ways. I want to be clear, it depends the work. There's ones that are just outright awful and we all, like, pretty much universally the community hates. But there are other people I talk about in the video who have this feeling of, like, you shouldn't represent, you shouldn't at all represent mental illness within horror, and are very anti that at baseline. And I don't think that's a productive conversation to have. And what I say in there, and I think this is valuable in the conversation about subjectivities and things, is that it's okay if that genre and topic match isn't for you. And it's okay if this video that I'm making isn't for you. And I don't think that your perspective is invalid, but I do think that it's unhelpful, because it's like walking around being like, well, it doesn't matter what other marginalized people say about how this is valuable to them because I don't like it, so it must be. And it's like, there's a difference between disliking something and something being harmful. There just is. And I think we need to be able to get people to a point where they can understand that. And I think that same mistake is happening with some people's, mainly cis-het people's, misunderstandings of the Fall of the House of Usher's representation of queerness, for example. Because they're also doing the same thing of being like I actually think it's a huge problem to try to represent marginalized people not as human beings, flawed and complicated, but as angels that we have to fucking be perfect, because that gets applied to us as real people. And as someone with a platform, as a queer creator, I do feel like I am constantly, and I'm sure both of you have experienced this too, under a certain degree of intense scrutiny.
Yeah.
Especially as a woman. Like,
yeah, I have a lot of, maybe it's because I'm like a hyper anxious person, but I feel I'm very, I kind of hate the fact that I make art. I think you can probably, I'm like, why am I, yeah, it's like, you can see this in all of my videos. I'm like, why am I making this? Why am I putting energy into this? Why am I going onto YouTube? I'm haunted by the fact that I am a consumer who is consuming and existing and breathing and doing all this stuff, and the possibility that something I put out is not going to see someone or see them in the way that is not like or that the fact that I'm looking is, anyways. Yeah, I have a lot of anxiety about this.
I feel like it's this thing where it's like a Sisyphean punishment, in that I have to do it, and I do find satisfaction in it. I have shit to say, goddammit. But it also is torturing me. Like, it's torture, and it's all of that at the same time. It's both catharsis and lovely, and I have to do it, and when I say this, I want people to understand that I'm not saying this in the sanest, like, mental illness. I mean, like, genuinely, I fucking go insane if I don't make art. It, like, actually negatively impacts my relationship to reality. Like,
yeah,
see,
I totally.
This is sort of what I feel too, and it's this sort of I have shit to say, god damn it, feeling that I feel, and I want to say it, but I've been going through something pretty specific recently, which is that so my sort of content has been sort of more analytical, technical sort of analysis of games, right? And recently I've sort of started to switch
Hmm.
Yeah.
and 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 this is like a genuine like insecurity that I have recently. And I am someone if and look, if you know me, you know that I hate self-deprecation. I will drop kick anyone who is being self-deprecating, but this is like a genuine thing. This is like a genuine anxiety that I have. That I've been starting to inject more of myself in my art and like trying to like stay
Yes.
Yeah.
and like trying to say more things that I feel are meaningful and important about our world and about ourselves and whatnot. And not just sort of grab a game, talk about it, and whatever. Uh,
Hmm.
which I still think that's cool, and I'll do that from time to time, and I'll use that as like a Trojan horse for the sort of thing that the Danganronpa versus Mr. Beast video is a good example of
Mm.
that. Which
I adore that script, by the way. I'm
I'm
so glad that I got to consult on it.
I'm so
Me
excited. I'm
too.
so excited for it. But anyway, yeah, my biggest fear right now is that I'm just not interesting enough to do that. Uh, like like injecting more of myself in the art. What if I'm just not a very interesting person?
I think
That's
you're very interesting.
that's 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 the brain. That's the brainworm in the deep dark of my brain right
I
now. And I know it's bullshit,
I
by the
under
way.
I understand that brainworm though. I have the same thing, and it's I think part of my problem too is that this can get heavy, I guess. Due to my due to my trauma and things, I really struggle to accept that people like me, and it and just a reminder, please, if you're watching this, don't get parasocially weird. Me expressing a vulnerability isn't like I don't need you to come be a white knight or whatever. You know, like please don't do that because people I've had people be weird when I express something like this where they're like they feel the need to like come and reassure me and I'm like it's that's not why I'm expressing this. I'm expressing this because there's a value in expressing difficult subjectivities and letting other people know that they're not alone in experiencing those things. And that is why I share vulnerable stuff. But I always feel like I'm teetering on this knife's edge because um I think some people think that I put more of myself into my works than I do. And I do put a lot, but like Maddie, you know what I mean. I really don't also.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I hold a lot back. And um there's definitely a weird experience with those elements because I think it's just it's always hard to be seen through reflections, and that's all we ever are. We're always being seen through prisms of subjectivity, and people invent these versions of you in in their head, and then on top of that, you have that like when you've had certain experiences, you have an absolute doubt that any sort of positive um because in the past, you know, and a lot of like positive reinforcement that I've experienced is intermingled with abuse and trauma, and so it becomes a thing of like this person doesn't actually mean that they want something from me, they're trying to use me like that. Like there's very complexities, and that gets even more complex when you have a an audience it's like kind of being like there's a reason why I made a piece about panopticon stuff um because it does feel like you're sort of dealing with a beast with many heads type of thing, like a hydra. I don't know how else to describe it. This sort
Hmm.
of chimera creature that is audience. Um, and you know, I have people who will comment. And I think I'm thinking about this a lot because I'm writing Usher, and so Midnight Mass is on my mind, like kind of tangentially. I've had a lot of people, you know, comment about like, oh my god, this is like so horrible. Like I can't even imagine trying this stuff, and I'm like, I and there are a couple of people who can attest to this. I really lightened up that video before releasing it. The final version of that script is drastically less heavy in certain ways. And I know some people are gonna be like, "That's a heavy video. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, seriously. I pulled back a certain amount of it because I felt like I was giving. I don't owe people that, and it's sort of there's this complicated fight, I think, between what I owe to the art, what I owe to myself, and what I owe to an audience. And those are three very different things. Because just because something is the best thing that I could do for the art, and I do think that making that a little heavier, or being a little bit more honest, or giving more of myself to it in certain ways would have been maybe better serving the art. I think it wouldn't have been serving myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a hard balance there. And I think we are all, whether we have a platform or not, fighting with the subjectivities of others and what is placed upon us across our lives. And I think a lot of discovering self is trying to deconstruct deconstruct and re-examine what is actually ourselves, and not what is the projection that is created by others. Because I
totally,
think we're all just sort of a bunch of projectors aimed at us, I guess.
It's like there's the idea of the looking glass self, which I'm sure you're aware of, but basically our self-concept is shaped by us performing what people expect of us. So we want to be the reflection of what we think people are thinking of us, which means that self is entirely a performance. And that's something that haunts me all the time, because I'm like, am I never being honest with myself for other people? Is it this constant loop of performance? And then when you do have a platform, it makes it more sticky, because I think you want your art to be honest, you want your art to be true, and that's going to involve putting some of yourself in there. But I really respect what you and Darkfry do, because I think I have been a bit cowardly in this respect. I don't think you could discern any of my opinions or stories or self from my videos. I think there is some of my essence in there, but you can say, oh, I know what she thinks about this, or
but I don't think you owe that, and I don't think it's cowardly. I people approach these things in different ways. I have a lot of conversations about this with Lady Knight. She's often been a helpful guide to me in ensuring that I don't lose sight of I don't owe everything to the audience or to the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you and I maybe sort of different ends of that sort of spectrum from what you're saying. Where it's I think if I wasn't given permission and told hey, you don't need to give everything to the work, I would absolutely probably go too far in the other direction and sort of self-immolate.
Mm-hmm.
There's a post I saw that was a metaphor by an artist where they're basically literally ripping chunks of themselves out, and that is making art, and they have to heal that. And that's I think my relationship with my art. I don't know if that's healthy. And I don't think the idea that you owe the audience anything is helpful. And so I don't think you should ever call yourself cowardly or feel jealous of that drive necessarily, because I'm not sure it's a healthy drive to have. I just do have it, and if I don't feed it, my brain, and I think I think one of the reasons why I hate the idea of the artist must suffer for the art is I think I would make great art if I hadn't suffered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my art is fundamentally colored by that suffering, and I sometimes wish it wasn't there. I guess, and I'm always coming at things from the perspective of someone with a very fractured sense of self. You understand what I mean more than most people would.
Yeah, but I wish art wasn't painful.
Creates a compliment. Yeah, I wish it wasn't, but I'm I find the only way that I can heal the pain is, it's like I don't know, it's sometimes when you have to heal a wound, the only way to do it is to cause minor injury.
Mm-hmm. Or to cauterize it,
Yes, yeah, like cauterizing or disinfectant even causes, like most disinfectants cause a certain amount of damage to tissue. Most people don't realize that, and that's why you're actually not supposed to use certain types of disinfectants because they cause too much damage, unless it's on specific types of cuts and injuries, where you want a more aggressive disinfectant. Like healing is painful.
Yes.
Growth is painful. I used to be an athlete, and working out is literally self-harm. And that's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable when I say that, but like I don't mean this in like some like whoa conceptual. No, I mean literally.
Your muscles are tearing.
To develop muscles, you have to tear them. You literally have to harm yourself to grow that. And I think sometimes people mistake that type of thing for I think sometimes people mistake injuring muscles by going too far as being a higher form of that like muscle growth like damage. And the reality is that it needs to be controlled, and if you go too far, you're going to tear it. And the mind is kind of a muscle too.
Yes,
and you need to make sure you don't go too far to tear it, I guess.
Yes, and I think that does play into like when I make art. Like if I suffer the most for it, then it makes it okay that I'm making it, even though I know that YouTube and stuff is bad. Which is like, oh no, don't think like that. But I know it's just your brain being kind of mean to my two brains.
I think it's important that we talk about that. I think it's important that we be able to talk. This comes back to that whole thing of like the value of expressing the difficult feelings. It gives room and a space to explore them.
So I released a video like a few days ago about how we need to support artists.
Yeah.
Right? Especially during these times right now when there's strikes and massive changes coming to the entertainment industry in various ways. And I have been getting some wild comments in that video, and I was not expecting it. Like, I say in that video that people are really hostile to artists for seemingly no reason, and then it just straight up happens in my comment section, and I just wasn't expecting it to like see that. Like, how did these people find my video? How did
you got your first?
How did this happen? I got my first Nazi comment, like straight up Iron Cross profile pic, which how the hell? Why is this the video that did it? The video where I say that we should support artists.
Hey, remember earlier when I said that conservatives are at a war with art, basically?
Yeah.
Because they hate the subjectivity of the marginalized?
Yeah, I don't...
it's actually like their primary thing that they're obsessed with.
I got so many comments. that were like, yeah, I agree that writers should get better conditions, but the woke ones should be fired.
How many comments have you gotten so far that say something along the lines of liberal elites and shit like that?
Oh
which
my
is just
God.
thinly veiled anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I really strong. I mean, thinly veiled. Like it's basically not veiled at all. Like the.
It's just God damn it.
The hatred of artists.
Hate artists, dude.
Yeah, because we bring attention to these aspects of self, and if you are a a conservative person with these specific viewpoints, how do I explain this? Like,
these artists are attacking you.
Well, and not just like these artists are attacking you, but it's like
I'm
gonna explain a concept. Human beings respond to attacks on core fundamental beliefs as equivalent to physical attacks. Like it can activate fight or flight shit. So when these views and things are central to your core, right in your heart, they're central to your view of self. You're central to your experience of the world. Things that are an affront to that, that is treated as a threat. And so I think when you look at this stuff and you see how they talk about art and they talk about it as if they're like persecuted, like they really talk about it a lot like they're persecuted. If you pay attention, it's just, this is a common fucking thing with these people.
And I think
oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, so like it is inherently destabilizing. Like art is saying that, or certain types of art, I should say, I guess, is like a radical claim that I am a human, and I exist, and I'm imagining something else, and the possibility that something else can exist, that change is possible, is something that is like fundamentally transgressive.
But yeah, like so much that, and sorry, I'm just trying to find the right way of wording this without like, but like the reality is that because people hold certain things so close to their core, people who just exist and are a affront to that, they treat it as a threat. They treat it as a fucking physical threat. And so, like, a huge part of violence against trans women fundamentally comes down to the fact that our existence fucks with a lot of cishet men's self-perception.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them, and I've experienced harassment, like sexual harassment, creepy fucking shit and stuff, a lot of them are attracted to trans women, but they don't want to see trans women as women because that would undermine their perception of self when it comes to gender. And cis women do this too, but in a different way. They don't tend to they don't tend to get murderous in the exact same way. They do tend to get quite violent towards trans men, and this doesn't get acknowledged enough, and I want to be clear about that. Trans men regularly get assaulted in bathrooms when they're forced to go in women's bathrooms and things. Like people don't, but the reason why a lot of trans women get murdered by like sexual partners and things is that these men cannot reconcile trans women being women, and then they cannot reconcile the idea that they might be gay because they've so heavily otherized that to acknowledge themselves as being queer, even though they're not in this case, but to think that, right, is basically a full form of ego death, where they would have to stop viewing themselves as a human being. And so instead of dealing with these fucked up feelings they're having towards us, this disgusting sort of projection they make onto us, they try to destroy us because that gets rid of the cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. And this appears all over the place. This appears all over the place in so many different things because it is existentially terrifying to them to view the other as human.
Yes. I think that's kind of a central point of the Barbie video.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and I think I was doing research into the construction of love generally, because there's this point at the end of Simone Weil's The Poem of Force, and she asks why we express violence in the context of love. Like, we used to have the Iliad, and now we have Romeo and Juliet. And these types of stories. And I was like, that's actually really interesting. Why do love stories contain these things? Well, because, and a lot of times how our masculine mythopoetic stories are meant that, like, usually you're supposed to deny love, because love was seen as something that, like, feminized men and masculinized women, and love sickness was something that could physically drain a man's energy. So how do you acknowledge that? You make the women character disappear. You disappear.
Yes.
You make them an object, and you say they don't exist.
Sexy lampshade.
Sexy lampshade. Exactly. So I was like, yeah, you just...
Sorry, lamppost.
Lamppost.
Or lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the sexy lamp is the thing, but I don't know why I said lampshade, because lampshading is a different
Yeah, different
technique.
thing.
My brain just like...
I was like, yeah, fridging, lampshading, same thing.
No,
yeah.
but it's like I think there's a lot of that as well, and like you see how like the way that far right people, and I want to be clear, I don't think a lot of the people who create the works, like the people who create these moral panics and stuff, believe this shit. Most of them are all fucking lying grifters that know they're lying, and basically are just like, I'll say whatever the fuck I want for money. Like they don't, but their followers, there's a lot of them that are very, very sincerely emotionally upset and scared and terrified of just the mere existence of women, people of color, trans people, queer characters, disabled characters in media. And the recent like woke thing, which used to be the snowflake stuff, which used like et cetera, whatever term that they could co-opt, because again, woke was an AAV term with a very specific meaning, which was co-opted by a bunch of white dipshits that didn't understand it. I'm not the person to explain that in depth, but I do have a bit of I have enough linguistic knowledge to know some of it. It's so fucking harmful. And it's so sad because it's self-destructive. I think, like, you notice that we keep talking about how much these self-introspections help you develop a healthier, more solidified, comprehensive self. And like when you look at stuff made by men who do the work, or any privileged person, I think men keep coming up because we're talking about Barbie, and it was that was generally the axis that was being discussed in that video. But the Kens, you know, who take the time to deconstruct these things, are able to be happier because I think everybody should examine their gender. And I think most people will come to the conclusion that they are the gender they are. You know, that they already were, they already knew, nothing's different, you know? Because that's what trans people are doing as well. We're coming to the conclusion that I'm the gender that I am, or the genders that you move between if you're gender fluid, or the lack of gender if that's the case for you. But whatever your experience of gender is, whatever those feelings are, because gender is, I disagree that gender is performance. I think gender is feelings, which we do perform. And that's why we can perform false gender. Like, I agree with Butler's writing otherwise, but like, I have a specific reason
Yeah, I
where
have
I'm like,
problems with some of Butler's stuff too. Yeah, I'm like,
it's like these tiny little things where I'm like, I don't think it's just performance, because that implies that I was a man when I was self-immolating to perform that, which I was not. And the thing is that I think the best way of describing it is through feelings, because what happens when you are incredibly sad or incredibly angry or all those things, and you bottle that feeling and you don't engage with it, it messes with your mental health. It fucks you up. It creates a dissonance in the self, which is what happens to trans people when we're in the closet. Like, and feelings can also be the lack of their feelings, and I think that explains a gender experience better, because like if gender isn't necessarily performance and we are all performing inherently all the time, you kind of have defined certain gender identities out of existence, and I disagree with that approach. And I think what it comes down to is that like gender is the feelings and it's the performance at the same time. It's all wrapped up in itself. And yeah,
I don't know. I like to think that there's some magic to it. I know that isn't like that's a deprivileged area, but I feel like there is some magical like stuff, and I'm like, this is it, because it feels right. And I'm like, this is I just don't.
Gender dust.
Yeah, I think we have magical gender dust, and then like we should be able to say that yes, okay, like we shouldn't be. I know our culture devalues emotion and feeling and magic and the goo that makes us, but I love the goo that makes us.
Yeah, it's almost like devaluing feeling is interrelated with it. I wonder why.
Is it associated with certain marginalized identities?
I wonder if womanhood is partially demonized because it allows feeling, but then also is inherently always policed. This is one of the things I fucking hate when I see the things of like, we talk about men enough, and like, and this idea that like women get to feel and men don't within patriarchy, and I'm like, have you talked to any woman that has ever worked a job? Have you ever read about the actual concept of emotional labor? Not the bullshit the internet thinks emotional labor means. I mean, the actual feminist writing on what emotional labor is. Because most people haven't, and I'm not going to try to explain it really briefly because we've already been going way over time. But, like, go read it. Go actually read it. It is about the ways in which women are... women are forced to, and everybody, but especially women, disproportionately women at the time that she was writing it, though I think the burden of emotional labor has kind of just been transgressed to everybody, and social media has made that drastically worse because we're supposed to perform positivity and we're supposed to perform certain feelings all of the time. And what people don't understand is that when women express feelings that are allowed for women, we are actually ratifying our lower rung on the hierarchy to the people around us. Like, if you cry as a woman, yeah, it isn't going to degender you because you're already a subclass. Like, you're already marginalized for this. You're already... Yes. Like, what happens when men express feelings they're not allowed to? They are demanded. They are demasculated. And they're called girly, pussy, like any term for women. Or related to femininity. They're called feminine. They're called effete. You know, like there's a billion terms. But notice that almost all terms that are built around mocking men for expressing feelings is calling them a woman. You can't insult a woman by calling her a woman. She's already a woman.
Yes.
And the problem that people don't get is that, like, women are heavily policed for our feelings all of the time. It's just that it's used to excuse the sexism we're already experiencing as valid. We're too emotional. And it's like, hey, maybe everyone's being tortured by this terrible system, and maybe trying to place women's oppression as privilege is fucking absurd.
Yes.
It's like being like, oh, trans people get to express their gender in a way that, like, a lot of cis people don't, so they're privileged. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's
no, it's because we're already not seen as valuable.
It's like saying, you can't just, you have to transform the conditions of our lives. You can't just say that, oh, you have to allow men to cry and women to be stoic girl bosses. You have to transform the conditions and recreate values that honor us as humans.
We don't need to reshape the system so that everybody can behave in ways acceptable to the system. We need to dismantle the system.
All right. With that message, I'm pulling the plug.
Sorry, Dark Brother, you had to be subjected to like 400 level women and gender studies.
I felt like a Ken in this episode. Is all I'm gonna say.
Alan.
Ken's a good thing.
Yeah,
you're an Alan.
I am an Alan. All right. Maddie, any last words?
I guess I will say thank you for having me on, and I guess as I close out all my videos with, maybe a good keep climbing, folks.
Awesome. So, anyway, that has been this episode of Video Gems. You have all learned a lot, I'm guessing. Cause goddamn, I have just been listening this entire episode, and I gotta say, wow. Like, you know, it once again, it was like pretty much every episode of Video Gems. I feel like that meme of trans people talking about gender with cis people, and it's a baby, and the two and then trans people talking about gender and the two philosophers. That's what I felt. That's how I feel like pretty much on half of the Video Gems episodes. Anyway, stay awesome, y'all. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Maddie, say bye.
Bye.
Maddie.
Oh no, Maddie got
Maddie.
microwaved.
Maddie. You gotta say goodbye to our viewers, Maddie.
Oh no.
Maddie.
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 Maddie. It's that fuck Family Guy, but it's that one Family Guy bit where he's like, Mum.
Maddie. The one Family Guy joke that genuinely makes me laugh is that scene where like they're all trapped in a room and it's getting filled with water slowly, and then as they're about to die, Peter's like, you know what? I'm gonna say it. Don't much care for the Godfather.
You don't care for the Godfather?
Like that
I
bit is
didn't get it.
genuinely really
I
good.
don't like it.
All right, Maddie,
Hey,
gonna need you to say goodbye to our viewers, Maddie.
I think Maddie's frozen.
Maddie. Oh man. Anyway, I'm gonna
Sorry,
stop the recording.
viewers.
I'm gonna stop the
Yeah.
recording now. Then
That was a good episode, though.